So today, let's learn about SIFT, the 4 moves. So how can students get better at sorting truth from fiction from everything in between and applying their attention to the things that matter, at amplifying better treatments of issues and avoiding clickbait? Yeah, 이게 제일 중요해. You know, I bet so many people are clicking onto my face and being like, oh, she's so pretty. I bet she's an Ayaya streamer. Like, oh my god, I want to see her more. And then, you know, she's actually being like, guys, don't watch Twitch because you guys should spend more time on blah, 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 blah. And then you guys are being like, oh, damn, this girl. Like, I don't know about this girl, man. Since 2017, we've been teaching students with something called the 4 moves. Our solution is to give students and others a short list of things to do when looking at a source, and hook each of those things to 1 or 2 highly effective web techniques. We call the things to do moves, and there are 4 of them. S. Stop. I. Investigate the source. F. Find better coverage. T. Trace claims, quotes, medias to the original context. The 4 moves. So, stop. The first move is the simplest. Stop reminds you of 2 things. First, when you first hit a page or post and start to read it, stop. Okay, guys, when you first listen to Jinri, stop. Ask yourself whether you know the website or source of information and what the reputation of both the claim and the website is. If you don't have that information, use the other move to get a sense of what you're doing, what you're looking at. Don't read it or share media until you know what it is. Second, after you begin to use the other moves, it can be easy to go down a rabbit hole, going off on tangents only distantly related to your original task. If you feel yourself getting overwhelmed in your face-checking effort, stop and take a second to remind your purpose. If you just want to read an interesting story, or get a high-level explanation of a concept, it's probably good enough to find out whether the publication is reputable. How is that possible though? If you're doing deep research of your own, you may want to chase down individual claim in a newspaper article and independently verify them. Please keep in mind that both sorts of investigations are equally useful. Quick and shallow investigations will form most of what we do on web. We get quicker with the simple stuff in part, so we can spend more time on the stuff that matters to us. But in either case, stopping periodically and reevaluating our reaction or search strategy is key. So, when you're watching other girl streamer, stop. Rethink what you're doing. Rethink, do you trust this material? Do you think it's worth watching? And then see if it's worth investigating or investing. And then you sub to that channel. So those who are not sub to Jinri, sub. Yeah, there you go. Good. Now, investigate the source, which is the I. We'll go into this movement more on the next page, but idea here is that you want to know what you're reading before you read it. So now you don't have to do a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigation into a source before you engage it. But if you're reading a piece of economics by a Nobel Prize-winning economist, you should know that before you're reading it. Conversely, if you're watching a video on the many benefits of milk consumption, so that doesn't mean that Nobel economists will always be right and that the dairy industry can't be trusted. But knowing the expertise and agenda of the source is crucial to your interpretation of what they say. Taking 60 seconds to figure out where media is from before reading it will help you decide if it's worth your time. And if it is, help you better understand its significance and trustworthiness. So we should apply SIFT to this SIFT article? Yeah, let's do that after reading it. But For this one, stop. After you stop, check if the girl streamer, where is she from? Is she from Korea? Is she from somewhere else? Do you trust that country? Just kidding, don't do that. But trying to compare it with a Twitch streamer is very hard. But I guess you have to investigate the source. So if it's from a news, they would definitely do it. But normally on a Twitch post, or sorry, on any like Instagram post or Pinterest or any type, they rarely sort their sources. So I guess if those come true, then you just have to delete or like move on and don't read much about it. Now F is find better coverage. Sometimes you don't care about the particular article or video that reaches you. You care about the claim the article is making. You want to know if that's true or false. True. You want to know if it represents a consensus viewpoint or if it's a subject of much disagreement. In this case, your better strategy may be to ignore the source that reached you and look for trusted reporting or analysis on the claim. If you get an article that says koalas have just been declared extinct from the Save the Koalas Foundation, your best bet might not be to investigate the source, but to go out and find the best source you can on this topic, or just as importantly, to scan multiple sources and see what the experts' consensus seem to be. Yeah, so even if they say it's been extinct, you have to check other resources, right? More trusted, more in-depth, or maybe just more varied. In lesson 2, we'll show you some techniques to do this sort of things very quickly. Do you have to agree with the consensus once you find it? Absolutely not! But understanding the context and history of a claim will help you find better evaluate. Will help you better evaluate and form a starting point for future investigation. Yeah, but honestly, this is very tiring, like lazy work, because you know, you're just on like Instagram and other sites just for fun and you skim through it. You don't actually read everything and be like, oh wait, I have to stop, I have to check the source and everything. So but this would be a good practice to do in general. Trace claims, quotes, and media back to the original context. Much of what we find on the internet has been stripped of context. Maybe there's a video of a fight between two people with the person A as the aggressor, but what happened before that? That's true. What was clipped out of the video and what stayed in? Maybe there's a picture that seemed real, but the caption could be misleading. Maybe there's a claim is made about a new medical treatment based on a research finding, but you're not certain if the cited research paper really said that. Oh, bye, Runa! I'll rate you sometimes. I did follow you right away, so thank you for the rate. 감사합니다. Thank you. In these cases, we'll have you trace the claim, quote, or media back to the source so you can see it in its original context and get a sense if the version you saw was accurately presented. It's about recontextualization. What the heck? Is this a different? So it's I, and they say it's about recontextualization. There's a theme that runs through all these moves. They are about reconstructing the necessary context to read, view, or listen to digital content effectively. One piece of context is who the speaker or publisher is. What's their expertise? What's their agenda? What's their record of fairness or accuracy? So we investigate this source. Just as when you hear a rumor, you want to know who the source is before reacting. When you encounter something on the web, you need the same sort of context. When it comes to claim, a key piece of context includes whether they are broadly accepted or rejected or something in between. By scanning for other coverage, you can see what the expert consensus is on a claim, learn the history about it, and ultimately land on a better source. Finally, when evidence is presented with a certain frame, whether a quote or a video or a scientific finding, sometimes it helps to reconstruct the original context in which the photo was taken or research claim was made. It can look quite different in context. So in some cases, these techniques will show you claims are outright wrong or that sources are legitimately bad actors. But in the vast majority of cases, they do something just as important. They reestablish the context that the web so often strips away, allow for more fruitful engagement with all digital information. So that being said, SIFT, don't forget when you're reading any source from media or any source from social media, I guess, is the number one thing. Double check it, guys. Don't trust it right away. We have had so many people, when we talk about COVID, talking about false information or anything that's very controversial, giving me false information. So that needs to stop, and that you guys should double check what you're reading. So I mean, Wiki isn't that bad. Honestly, if you search on Wiki and then double check the source, like double check with different news material, then it's fine. But like, I honestly think Wiki is better than social media out there. On some part. Wiki is blah, yeah, but I read through Wiki for coding because I'm not going to read that full documentation. So that's true. That's why I do like Wikipedia. It's a great way to start, not gonna lie. I think when you want to learn about something, it's a great way to start by reading the Wikipedia. And then if you're curious about that part, then read it using the reference because they give you more in depth. So that's what I like about Wikipedia. But in terms of social media, they don't have any reference. You know how they were like, oh, you should check to see if they have such and such or this and that. I don't know. Do they really source their materials? I highly doubt they would. Shall we apply SIFT to this? Yes. So let's see if this website, because we just learned the SIFT, let's see if this is worth SIFT. Thanks, Jetty. So their first thing, stop, guys, stop, don't look. Let's see if this context is really worth it, and that, like, let's investigate the source. Okay, so the source is Hapgood. What's Hapgood? So what's good, guys? So he is Mike Caulfield. Who are you? Wait, so who? Wait. Oh. Oh, here, me on the web. Holden on Twitter. He does Twitter? So it's this guy. Work on election misinfo, rapid response, and media literacy. Oh, so he's a misinformation researcher, guys. That's really cool. Ah, there you go. Thank you. So this guy, ooh, I like his picture, is currently director of blended and networked learning at Washington State University, Vancouver. Oh. So he's a runner-up in the Rita Allen RTI International Misinformation Solutions Award. Wow. So he is actually known for creating the SIFT. Oh, then definitely the source is trustworthy, guys, right? And then F is find better coverage. How do I find better coverage of this? So let's check the video and see if it's actually SIFT then. So I know we have Jolly who sent this. So it is stop, investigate, find better coverage, trace claim quote. And that I think it is saying similar things, you know, before you share, ask yourself, are you familiar? Like, is it a familiar source? Da, 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 da. And then move on to the next step. Oh, look, investigate. On social media platform like Twitter, you can use what's called a hovering technique. Oh. And then, you know, and this person even gives a specific way of actually finding better ways to use this technology or this technique. But other coverage is available on the same topic. Most big news stories got true coverage by multiple major outlets. So I honestly think in terms of find better coverage, this is good, but the other one had examples or figuring out how you could use this methodology, you know, different sources of using it. So I think that was good. Finally, trace claim, quote, and media back to the original context. There wasn't that much media that we could use to do it, but I mean, guys, this is the writer of this. Yeah, we found better coverage on finding better coverage. That sounds so cool, guys. Now, going back to the original context from the one we just found, I think it matches. Like I said before, the original one is just more of text. I think he has like different lessons of it, but in general, I think it tells you great information. And then finally, recontextualizing. Guys, I think we're understanding that misinformation is a legit thing, and there's even professors or people studying about it. So this source is a good source, and that you guys can trust this SIFT4 method source, although it is blog post. So when I first saw it, I was like, is this really worth seeing? But and that there's other coverages out there, either in better form or not that good, but still worth it. And yeah, a great methodology, guys. Definitely try checking this out when you encounter a very weird Twitter or TikTok post.